I became an empty nester in 2016 when my second child went off to college. I was not prepared for the enormity of this transition and the wide range of emotions I would go through. I loved my kids very much and I missed them. I was very excited for the wonderful opportunities they had before them. I worried if my son could handle the demands on his schedule and if he would make good decisions away from home. I felt lost that he no longer needed me, and I had always been very involved volunteering with whatever activities they were in, and now that was gone. I found some friendships had been based on the common bond of our kids, and when the kids went off to college, the friendships unraveled. I am not from Minnesota. I do not have family here or childhood friendships, and that can often lead to loneliness. And with empty nesterhood on top of that, the loneliness plunged to a new low. And there were many days I wondered if anyone other than my husband would notice or care if I completely disappeared. I cried a lot in fall of 2016. They didn't need me to wash their clothes or make a meal, but they needed my prayers now more than ever. While I'd certainly prayed for my kids their entire life, this was very different. I prayed with an intensity and a fervor and a passion I had never experienced before. I prayed all the time, around the clock, wherever I was. It was a continual conversation throughout the day with God. If I woke up in the middle of the night, I would pray. At the time, I didn't realize this was a new spiritual gift being unfolded. I went in to talk to Pastor Chris about what was happening to me, and Pastor Chris asked me to be her personal prayer warrior and introduced me to a number of people of prayer at Easter. God has continued to bring people and resources to me to further equip me in my prayer life. I have heard it said, if God calls you, God will equip you, and I found this to be very true in my life. I am now very involved in Bible Study Fellowship, which is a 30-week, very intense Bible study, and I know God is using my prayers there. Now, 3 years later, I'm happy to report my kids are absolutely thriving. They're making very good decisions, and they know they're continually prayed for. We share prayer requests and praises, and we'll pray together over FaceTime. We've seen many, many prayers answered over the last several years, and God's fingerprints are all over our life. God took my weeping and turned it into joy. Spending one-on-one time with God is the highlight of my day, and He is my joy and my delight. To God be the glory.
So on December 6, 2016, I was just over 33 weeks pregnant, and that morning I suddenly went into labor. My water broke, very unexpected and not planned whatsoever. I had had a great pregnancy up until then, so we weren't ready for this. My husband was gone on a work trip. He was doing his first official visit to a customer in just a couple days, so the day before and then the day of. And so he was out of town, And I called the nurse line, obviously unsure what was going on, and they recommended I just come in just to get checked out, make sure things were okay. So I packed a bag and went to the doctor, drove myself to the doctor's office, and when I checked in, it was in the emergency room. So there was a lot of things going on there, but they essentially said, go to this chair, go to this wheelchair and wait. Wait until somebody comes to get you, and then they'll come back to check you. So there I sat in the wheelchair with my overnight bag on my lap and having absolutely no idea how long I was gonna sit here and what was going on. So a million things were going through my brain, and obviously the top thing was my daughter okay? This wasn't supposed to happen as early as it did, and what was gonna happen after that? So probably, I don't know, I'd say, I mean, it felt like an eternity, but I think it was maybe 5 to 8 minutes, and somebody grabbed me and took me back, and after an examination, they determined my water had broke, so they tried to see if they could delay labor a little bit. That didn't work. Thankfully, I had called my husband on the way into the doctor's office, so he was frantically trying to figure out how to get a flight home early. And then after an epidural, my labor ironically slowed down. So in the meantime, he got a different flight. He was running through the airport. He was calling the doctor to figure out how fast to get there. And he arrived in time, I think in about an hour before she was born. And she was born, yeah, so about over 6.5 weeks premature, and was whisked to the NICU right away. At the beginning, I was super happy because she was here, she was healthy, she was whole. There wasn't much wrong with her. She just was too early to know how to eat orally, so they did a feeding tube, and she was on oxygen for maybe 12 hours, which in the grand scheme of things was amazing for how early she was. And she was a relatively big baby for the NICU. So it was amazing at first, and then the longer we were there, it was a struggle because we thought, she's great, she's able to eat now, okay, we can go home. Well, now she's having like some periodic breathing issues, so now we have to figure that out, and she'd have a lot of monitors on her that would frequently go off. So hearing those little beeps and buzzes along the way too it was hard to continue to hear that and not know when the day was and when we got to leave. And they would do rounds every day with a neonatologist and then a pediatrician, and you would always just wait and hope that that was the day you got to go home. And so often it was, nope, we gotta wait because we need X many days where she doesn't have periodic breathing issues, or she needs to eat X amount before she can go home. So that was a part when it was really tough, and just to be patient and know that she was there for a reason, and know that the nurses and the staff we had around us were amazing. And it was a time when she was ready to go home, and we knew that she could be successful and thrive at home. So by the time we got to the end, that's when we started getting anxious and just ready for her to be home. So exciting and exhilarating to be able to bring her home with us. It was December, so it was really cold. And we, bundled up, and we had everything ready to go. And we drove the car up under this awning to put her in the car, and it was just, yeah, it's hard to have words for that kind of experience, and the feeling of bringing your baby home after I spent every day in the NICU. I went home for Christmas Eve and stayed overnight, and that was it. So to have that experience with her and to bring her home together, yeah, it's hard to express it in words, but it was pretty amazing. So she's, beautiful, bright, smart, kind, and loving. So it's exciting to see those 24 days and that time of labor felt like an eternity, like I mentioned, but now I look at it and it was such a small blip of time for how much time we've already got with her so far, and how much she's grown and how great and amazing she is.